Okay, let's get into the market. Yesterday, with the stock market was up about 0.75%, thanks to the big banks and who are the early birds or the cotton raisers of the quarterly numbers. We still have a bit of 2018 unfinished full-year earnings. Access Bank, Zenith Bank, and GT Bank, three of the few top five lenders reported their earnings within the last 48 hours. Temple Ashaju, our business correspondent, is live there to us at the Stock Exchange studios there. Temple, good morning. Welcome to the program here.
Good morning, Bosun.
Thank you. This is good news from the banks affecting the market. You said yesterday morning that if we continue on the trajectory of these comeback or gentle comeback for equities, we're likely to see 30,000. Yesterday, we finished at the doorstep of that, 29,970.86. Just a few knots there, and we would have crossed the 30,000. You think today, despite being the last trading day, might fetch us that psychological index reading all over again, and we'll say thank you, have a nice long Easter holiday, everyone, before we shut the doors at 2:30.
Hopefully, Bosun, that will become the gift for Easter, or the Easter package that one will be expecting.
It's got a Good Friday, yes.
In this market, but anything can actually happen. Exactly. Yes. Tomorrow is a Good Friday, so that might just be the gift.
It's a Good Friday that happens on Thursday. I don't mind a Good Friday on Thursday. If it happens on Thursday, any day is good. Give it to me on Monday, it's called Good Monday or whatever. Any day is good as long as I get that. But this looks like good. I'll take us through this. You look at the volume yesterday, not significantly strong, just about 200 million. Yeah. Yet the trading sentiment was really strong, as we've seen since the beginning of the week.
Yeah, in fact, the volume of transaction was just 32% decline yesterday compared to what we had on Thursday. Sorry, on Tuesday, I meant to say, actually. And of course, I mean, we were able to have the value of transactions around the 30-day average, which is 3.22 billion naira, actually. Well, basically, yesterday, so what we added to the equity capitalization was just 4.37 billion naira, and that's a bit, of course, quite positive, up some 0.76%. Same margin that the key benchmark indices actually moved. And we saw the positive sentiment steering the market around the fact that we had Access Bank and GT Bank, and of course, these three major banks, Zenith Bank numbers coming in, which were all positive for the market eventually. Dangote Cement, the consumer goods segment of the market, also pushed up the indices very, very well. The fact that we also had downbeat prices in the market also contributed to the reasons why we saw the level of performance that we saw in the market yesterday. However, there was a little sense of profits taken yesterday in the market, because again, if you look at the sentiment, the market breadth for yesterday, you will notice that there were just 16 gainers and 17 losers. So if these profit-taking sentiment eventually outpaced the level of sentiment that we had yesterday, then we might see a bit of a downtrend today. However, we want to remain positive going forward anyway. So basically yesterday, the consumer goods segment of the market was the segment of the market that actually moved the indices forward more. We saw Nestle making a comeback by some 5.31%. Dangote Flour was also very, very positive, almost 3% in its price appreciation since yesterday. Dangote Sugar and Nigerian Breweries, all of these major companies actually pushed up the indices. So major bellwethers in the system are actually helping the market, and we do hope that this will be sustained. But for the other contributor to the market, was a fair contribution we got from the insurance side of the market. Mutual Benefit was able to moderate the losses that came in from the likes of ICO and a couple of other insurance firms in the market. But the banking segment yesterday wasn't too good in terms of performance. So the major counters where we saw the profit taking were the key ones that actually dragged the sector yesterday. So Wema Bank was down 5.56%. Guarantee Trust Bank was down yesterday by some 2.39%. Fidelity was down 2%. Access Bank, however, was able to weather the storm a little bit and was up some 9.92%. Of course, given the fact that this particular company is going to be needing a whole lot of fund liquidity going forward. it's a reason actually for investors to put more money on ground on this particular company. So the industrial goods segment of the market was down on account of losses we saw around CCNN and of course Q6 PLC. Oil and gas is next. Oil and gas was down yesterday, was down 1.40% yesterday because we saw a lot of investors now taking profits across the Seplat PLC counter. Yesterday we saw that particular side of the market down some 3.39%, and that's really weighed down the market. If you look at the volume, it's 217,885 that was done across the counter of Seplat PLC. However, investors continue to be very bullish on O&O PLC. It was up yesterday by some 2.08%, and we saw some 2.9 million units of shares exchanged on that particular side of the market. Let's move on to NSE O2C, where we saw a good performance as well, 0.15% up yesterday. We saw trading around just two securities out of the 38 tradable numbers there on that side of the market. We look at the US side, came in at 734.24, market capitalization at 527.50 billion naira. Volume was mild, 203,180, and valued at just 1.34 million naira. But yesterday we had just 4 deals, which is lower compared to what we had in the preceding session. Of course, for the fixed income side of the market, it was quite mixed. The bond side of things was also mixed. A little bit of tilt to bearish tilt in the system. We got activities around the short and the mid ends of the curve, but we know that the April 2023 security had a bit of expansion yesterday due to the fact that there wasn't so much activity in that side of the market. The June 2019 security is another company, is another security rather, that investors are watching. And for the treasury bill side of the market, ditto was what we saw. There wasn't too much of activities there. It was a bit cold, but of course there was a PMA auction there yesterday carried out by the Central Bank of Nigeria, and I'm sure we will be able to get all of those updates much later on the show, Bosun.
Yes, Temple, thank you for giving us that market roundup. But again, if you look at, you listen to Haruna Jallo Waziri, the CEO at CSCS PLC Elibere. This is a company trading on the NSE over the counter, and says, look, they're very happy that the company at least is paying some cash dividend and all of that. This is part of your market and companies on the NSE, on listed securities market. Temple, what's your comment?
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that this company is tradable on the NSE O2C is something that gives succor to a lot of investors here in the market. So you don't have to bother your head around when will the demutualization of whatever concerns this particular firm, this particular depository will take place. So they're paying out 70 kobo in dividend to investors. I remember that at one of the AGMs, shareholders were really concerned about the fact that they are not paying out dividends or something. It wasn't really impressive. So the fact that this will be coming out this year will at least encourage investors to continue to stay positive about this same company. And the fact that we also had the ratings that they've gotten, the renewal of their ISO 27001 security feature there, something that is meant to really protect information. It gives a lot of confidence to investors, whether foreign or domestic. If you're bringing in money into this country as a portfolio investor, this is a plus for the Nigerian market. You're so certain that once you come in and you want to make exit, the depository is available to make seamless arrangements, exit route for you in the market, because it is their role to actually do all of those. They play a very significant role in the settlement side of things here. We still experience some T+3 settlement cycle here in the market, but that's not too bad. I mean, it's no longer T+5, you know, so that's fair. We do hope that sometimes in the future they will be able to attend the T+1 actually.
T+5, there's a car. You've got T+5, then T+3, then T+1. We're looking at T+0. Then you just trade in the morning, then you get your money in the afternoon. That's the world of electronic financial markets. It's just like going to the ATM. You just put in your card, then you just get the cash just a few seconds. Who wants to wait till tomorrow? Look, the world has since moved on. Those days are long gone, Temple. But again, let's talk about the earnings. The earnings are coming through. We still have a backlog of 2018. So let's leave those guys a little bit and talk about Q1. But a few of them are coming through. If you look at the numbers, the banks are looking good so far with the profit. It looks like Access Bank and Zenith are going head-to-head in terms of total deposit. 3.4 trillion naira for Access Bank on the left hand, 3.5 trillion naira total deposit for Q1 for Zenith Bank. These guys are just trying to go head-to-head. Look at the profit. Zenith Bank beats Access Bank. Access Bank put in reported 41.14 billion. This is Zenith Bank, on the other hand, reporting 50.23 billion naira. So it looks like the race is on between Access and Diamond Bank. Sorry, Access. And why don't I get Diamond Bank in my head? Really? Okay. Then and Zenith Bank. Then you have GT Bank, who is the other. I can't just get that Diamond thing out of my head. I'm going to try and find out why. So, but let's talk about these three big banks now trying to go head-to-head in terms of profit, in terms of deposits, and making money.
So, for me, the point of attraction here is still Guarantee Trust Bank. I mean, Access Bank did so well, very fantastic. I mean, there was a bit of growth in the loan book this time, some 30% or thereabouts. A whole lot of positive metrics around Access Bank there. For Zenith Bank, of course, we know that this is one very, very strong bank as well. Was positive in terms of the PBT and, of course, in terms of the profit after tax. All of that was positive. Whatever happens to the top line, we'll get to certainly know later. But for Guarantee Trust Bank, I mean, there was a negative reaction we saw yesterday. Perhaps investors weren't expecting the numbers that was pushed out. Because for me, the fact that we have a loan loss position that reduced drastically to 640 million naira was a plus on their side. I mean, compared to over 3 billion naira that they reported for Q1 2018. That is really, really, really very impressive. They also had impairment charges decline by some 60%. And that is something that is really, really very impressive too. And of course, their earnings came in, got serious support from the interest income, although that slowed by some 7.79%. And of course, I'm sure that by the time we get the conference call, analysts will understand what also transpired, and then we will be able to feed more viewers with such information. But if you look at the net fee and commission, that kind of rose by some 24%, which is something that if you compare to what has happened across the market, across the banking sector side of things, is recurrent across board. So I think the only area where these guys need to now start working on, according to what analysts have also said, I'm lending borrowing from the analysts now, is to basically improve on their NPL, reduce the NPL, improve their loan books, so that the role of the banking sector really, really can be felt in the real economy, Bosun.
The conversation around the loan book will continue, because now the banks have to, and they're coming out and saying, look, we want to lend more, in particular to small and medium enterprises, companies there. There's a cross-country roadshow, which the Bankers Committee has announced will happen in the month of May. Lagos, Ibadan, and I think the third will be Lagos, Kaduna, I beg your pardon. Sorry, Ibadan, Kaduna, and Port Harcourt. Those are the three locations: Ibadan, Port Harcourt, and Kaduna. Those were the three cities cross-country where the funding SMEs for the Bankers Committee, which was spoken about at the last Bankers Committee, will take place in the month of May. So they got to do a lot more. They got hundreds of billions of naira sitting down there. But again, we have these loan impairments and impairment charges. Look at the figure for Zenith Bank. That was quite high. If you look at the impairment for credit loss there, about 84 billion. That's quite a lot there on the books for Zenith Bank. Then you look at across all the banks, the big banks, it looks like they've carried some of this burden over time, and they're trying to find a way to onboarding it. But based on what you just said, it looks like the numbers are they're trying to work their way out of it, and then it's going to be a gradual process. This is not going to be over anytime soon, because they got to make impairment for loan loss, get some of these delinquent loans in, while giving out more credit at the same time. It's a very delicate balancing for them, Temple, isn't it?
Sure. It is, Bosun, because this is something that will actually make their stocks here in the markets to thrive better. I mean, we know that these banks are very, very resilient. Look at Zenith Bank, as you mentioned. Things like this, developments like this across this particular bank has actually been able to help it sustain this kind of resistance level that is currently trading at around 20, 21 naira. It hasn't fallen below that, I mean, in years in this market. So things like this is what investors are expecting, retail investors, as well, of course, as well as institutional investors, and it will continue to push up their performance in the market if this becomes very, very sustainable. With regards to the what is called AGSMIS, agriculture, small and medium enterprises investment scheme that the banks are putting together in collaboration with the central bank, basically the bankers committee. It's something that a lot of investors are also waiting to see come into reality. If that happens, I mean, it's going to really, really help the economy, because you have a lot of funds available by way of social intervention programs of the government around the Bank of Industry, around what some state governments like Lagos State is also doing, and of course as the Development Bank of Nigeria. All of that still seem inadequate or insufficient for a population of 200 million people. And so you need the banks to also come in to lend support to this particular kind of program, social intervention programs like this. At the end of the day, you see a lot of folks going for this.
Yes. If you look at part of the news there, it's still around the credit market with the banks. Look at Jaiz Bank, and it's been in the news now. Just put pen to paper with Bank of Industry, I think between 3 to 5 billion naira, which Jaiz Bank could be lending. Of course, you know, that's a non-interest bank, what you call Islamic banking, kind of financial bank credit principles. That's what Jaiz Bank does. So putting pen to paper with the Bank of Industry for this size of loan, it's been in the news over the last 1 or 2 days, and I think that is something that investors in Jaiz Bank will be taking on board very in terms of pricing. Traders and analysts will be looking at that if this coming through for Jaiz Bank, this small cap company, it could be part of what to put in the box when you're analyzing this stock moving forward.
Sure, Bosun. This particular bank has actually been very, very sustainable in terms of dividend payout. I think they have a dividend being proposed, so I can't really remember the figure now, but trading around 49 kobo or thereabouts. And the fact that whenever the market actually moves very, very well, and this is one of the companies that you see also rising fast in the market. There was sometimes in 2018 it was actually trading as high as 1 naira 50 kobo, if not more, in the market. But due to the exit of FPIs, we saw it then returning to 40 kobo, 50 kobo, and all that. What this company has been doing, what this bank has been doing, has actually been very, very impressive to a lot of investors that I know. It is classified under the NSE Lotus Index, which is the Islamic indices here in the market, and it outperforms a whole lot of the companies in that sector, given its trajectory and performance, and of course the fact that it actually makes a lot of its numbers, just like a lot of other companies available here in the market. And remember that Jaiz Bank was actually tradable on the NSE OTC before now. Then it became listed here on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Giving out all of these kind of facilities, making it available not only to Islamic faithfuls, but across board, as long as you're willing to participate in it. I mean, it's a plus. So the confidence on the Jaiz Bank is really, really positive. They've got a very good governance structure. There hasn't been any problem around it. So I think it's just an expansion that will be the next strategy to pursue going forward.
I agree with you, Tempo. Thank you so much. Let's check in with you a little bit later. How much are we learning as we start today's trading day in terms of where the big volumes moving, and if the investors or traders are not so quite anxious to call it a day yet, because if you have good numbers on the street, everyone to take advantage of that. Noble, I don't think anyone is in a hurry to leave the trading floor, but with the big banks reporting big numbers.
So we're now seeing investors reacting to Guarantee Trust Bank. Remember that Guarantee Trust Bank didn't really get so much of pronounced reactions yesterday in the market, but right now it's up some 0.58%. Access Bank, recall, with its 16% top line and 88% bottom line, yesterday actually went on bid. Traded at some 6 naira 65 kobo or something, and of course it's still on bid right now, up some 1.5% already. So these investors are reacting positively to all of this banking side of things right now, which is the reason why you will see the banking sector currently up by some 0.85% in the system. We've got Fidelity Bank up already by 9.04%. Perhaps that's another bank that is preparing to release its earnings, and some investors are basically just taking position ahead of the release just to be able to gain some price appreciation, of course, and then from there take profits and move out. Surprisingly, we've got Dangote Cement also up already this morning. We've got it moving at some 1.06%, and of course that has pushed up the industrial goods segment of the market by some 0.15%. So this kind of sentiment is likely to persist for the rest of the day. We're seeing the all-share index up some 0.43%. The earnings results continue to drive up performance, which is what we also saw yesterday. A few other companies that are releasing their earnings are the ones we're not expecting, that will be releasing rather, are the ones that we're not expecting today. Hopefully when those come in, it will be able to shape the performance. Don't forget as well, the NACO also posted some good numbers yesterday. We got we're expecting the reaction of investors to it today, given the fact that they are proposing the 25 kobo dividends to investors. That's their full year 2018 numbers, actually. So today, it's now one of the key companies to watch. Yesterday, Wema Bank was on offer. I think it fell below 70 kobo rather per share yesterday. So today investors will watch, see how much lower it will want to go before they take position, and if it doesn't go lower, then those that will take position will certainly take position. Continue to watch how it will perform before Easter. Boson.
Yes, you talked about NACO Avians there. Now with the listing of his main rival in the aviation handling company. But NACO, yes, the group figure was good, but again, if you look at the company specific, that profit was down about 41%.
Exactly.
The company, according I went through the auditor's report, and they said, look, this company has heavy trade receivables within the industry, a total of 2.35 billion naira, for which there's an impairment of 1.123 billion already made for last year, according to EY, reporting the audit firm here, which was in the auditor's report, and just in there for those who want to go through the details. So it looks like investors will continue to look at this. Then, of course, you have United Capital there, saying that their numbers for last year was for first quarter was impacted by the elections and debt profile of some state governments. Let's leave it all there for today. Thank you, Temple. Everyone have a happy holiday, but of course it's going to be business as usual here, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, Friday. Let's get back together at that time. Thank you so much. See you then.